Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're going to show you a demonstration about these 2006 to 2011 Chevy HHR throttle bodies. As you know, is right here I have a brand new throttle body for a 2006 Chevy HHR 2.2 LT. Here's the downfall with these. I bought this new 6 months ago because I thought that with that HHR over there, I thought that the throttle body was dying when it had low engine performance, and when the engine was disabled, it was having throttle body issues. One of the old videos I did months ago, it was showing how to check and diagnose the problem, and I had too much dirt and debris in the throttle body, and it caused that problem. But I bought this as a heads up thinking it was dying. But after 3-4 months of driving, after I cleaned it, it was been running fine, but I clean it every 6 months just to be sure everything's fine. Downfall is these things are like $300 at the auto parts store, the cheapest you can get these. GM probably charges about maybe $400 to $500, I would assume, or maybe $395 if you get lucky. Well, when I bought this, it stated that these throttle bodies were compatible with the HHRs, the Chevy, what's it? The Chevy Cobalts and the Saturn Vues from the years like 2005 to 2011. But yes, the throttle bodies are compatible. The only problem is that this throttle body for the Chevy HHR for the 2.2 LT is this throttle body is not compatible. And it has how I know that because the other throttle body that come with the vehicle, the original GM one that was built for that car, it's actually smaller. Like this is actually smaller, and this one's fatter. The downfall is that the 10 millimeter bolts that come off of that car for that throttle body is that the bolts are the same. The bolts are the right bolts, but the problem is that the bolts are not long enough and they don't go all the way through. So I took the original bolts off of my HHR with that original throttle body, and it matches up to the tip of the hole. I mean, the tip of the 10 millimeter bolt matches up with this hole, but on the other one, the bolts go through and they have about maybe this much of a gap past that hole to be able to go into the threads of the engine. But this part here is actually fatter than the other one. Mine's about this thin. This one here is like fatter. I thought, taking one of the bolts in from that car or from another one at the junkyard and matched up and trying to get the same bolt with the same head, but a bolt about that long that comes out of this hole would work. But when I really thought about it, I said, no, it's not going to work. And the reason how I know, because for one, my car doesn't have this hole. And two, the holes are matched up right with that car and it fits perfectly. But the problem is the screws don't fit. The other good thing about it is that the ports are right. The holes match up. The throttle body itself is right. The only difference is that mine doesn't have this hole and the screws do not fit this throttle body. Reading the reviews from the seller, a lot of people stated that people who had the Chevy Cobalts and the HHRs, but I've seen more of these throttle bodies being sold for the Cobalts and the Saturn Vues. Even though it says it's compatible with your vehicle, a lot of people have said something about it wasn't compatible, didn't fit, they've had to return it and get a refund. I couldn't get a refund because I waited too long and I thought it would fit, but I didn't check it because I never thought that the throttle body would be totally different. So I was assuming that maybe they either sold me the right one for this motor, and maybe it's for a newer year, or two, maybe GM has changed the models after 2006. Maybe it fits a 2007 or up. Or three, maybe they sold it to me by accident as to fit the 2.4, not the 2.2. To me, this looks like it goes for a 2.2. I mean, a 2.4. And, I mean, but people who own the Chevy Cobalt Saturns have had problems. I haven't seen anybody buy these for the actual HHRs. But that doesn't mean anything. I mean, but I did look at the junkyard at some of the Chevy Cobalts and Saturn Vues. The throttle bodies are almost the same as the HHR, but this one here is just a little fatter. The seller, I bought it from an auto parts store up north of New York, and they weren't really communicative too much as far as, you know, getting the refund. It said it said it could if it wasn't used, and it wasn't. This grease mark was because I was messing with it long ago, trying to see if the bolts would fit. Just to put a new one on it for shits and giggles, but it wouldn't work. So I'm actually going to be selling this for like 80 bucks because these are like $300 at the store, and even online I paid 90 for this. I'm only going to sell it for 80 because if it doesn't work, I'm not going to keep it. If I can't sell it, I'll keep it as a trophy case hanging on the wall or something like that in the garage, or keep it for someone who actually can use it one day. Whoever comes by, maybe try to sell it at the garage sale or something. I mean, the main problem in these throttle bodies is that these modules go bad. It has the idle control. It has the idle control valve in these things and the throttle position sensor. Usually the throttle position sensors in these chips and these modules go bad and causes malfunction, and these things don't get enough air in them. And they're wireless. They're not like the old school ones. I prefer the old school ones in a way, only because they're easier to fix, they're cheaper, and the cables are really simple to put on. These are wireless. Once this thing goes, the whole thing goes. Your car is going to act up. It's going to pop up like 10 freaking codes on that thing. You never know. But just be sure on the Saturn Vues, the Chevy Cobalt HHRs, to save your original throttle body, just always be sure that you clean out this every 3 to 6 months, depending on how bad your driving habit is. I do mine every 6 months. Mine was a teenager, not enough, but I'm not going through that engine performance and engine disabled bullshit again. Excuse my language, BS again. I won't have that. So if you see this type of throttle body, and I would look at yours first to be sure it's the correct one. If this one's small, if yours is smaller than the one you got or the one you're ordering, do not get it because you're gonna waste your time and waste your money. There's not very many videos out there for these vehicles that I listed in the video that have or tell you about these throttle bodies, so I thought I would. Always be sure when you do replace these throttle bodies that you always unplug your negative battery terminal from your car to keep your car from coming on, like by like recalls or any defects. You don't want an engine to come on, or you don't want to leave your engine on trying to play with this, or be disconnecting the sensor from this. You don't want no problems, and try not to damage this butterfly in here because you do not want that as well. If you do plan on cleaning this out, take it out of the vehicle, clean it from top and bottom really good. Do not use any blades on these because you don't want to scrape these all up, then they won't seal right when you do put the new gasket on there. The gasket that I did purchase for this car, they gave me the wrong damn gasket too. But it says, oh, it fits. Matched up. It don't work either because mine's a little curved on the side. It didn't have like a big giant curve, as a small curve. It doesn't fit that manifold. And this fits perfectly, but I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if all the new aftermarkets have these holes or not, but I know my original one didn't. I don't know if that makes a big difference with these. I've never really seen them like that. I mean, it's a good thing to check out on yours, but I know for sure mine's not. The holes can match up, but they can change the design of them, maybe for better flow, maybe, I don't know. Just be sure, like eBay sells a lot. I looked on eBay to try to find what's called the first generation, because that's a first generation HHR. It's a 2-tones FF special edition, which I don't know what that means for that. I did find first generation ones on eBay, but Amazon doesn't really carry a lot of these. Amazon had the first generation, which I found, which is like a $10 difference, and it's made to fit my car. And these are like $10 less because these are aftermarket and they're bigger. Now, from other sellers, I don't know how much and how many of these they've actually sold, and people have complained about it. I know from the guy that I purchased. I'm not saying his name because I don't have it with me. And if I did, I would tell you exactly who it is and not to buy from him because he seems to give a lot of the wrong parts. But for his safety, I don't want to give out any of his information. So just all I can say is just think smart, not hard. But they come in a box like this with a little cushion in here, keep it protected. But too bad it won't work. I mean, maybe one day if I plan on keeping the car for another year, which I will, once it dies, I might replace this. But when I bought it, the throttle body on the other car seemed to be looked like it was recently replaced, but it was giving me problems at the time because I owned a Saturn Vue before. I knew what the problems are. I had it where this thing completely died and the car wouldn't start. It took me about 3 or 4 hours to get it started, and it did. And the light came on, the engine was going less than 30 miles an hour. The whole thing was shaking, the exhaust was shaking. O'Reilly's in Ohio thought that, well, your engine's about to die. That doesn't mean nothing. Your engine's going to die. If the engine was going to die, you'd be hearing a lot more noises than that. It was the throttle body. I fixed it. It was done. A lot of the GM vehicles, they have a lot of the same problems with these wireless throttle bodies due to age. But I hope this video helps. But like I said, it's just a demonstration on what to look at and what these aftermarket ones look like for these cars. But like I said, they're supposed to be made to fit Saturn Vues, Chevy Cobalts, and Chevy HHRs with the 2.2s. But if you want like the 2.4 ones, just like I said, be sure you get the right one. Because I've seen it where some cars have like one part's different on 1 year, then you can have somebody that's gonna have the same year you do, and the part could be totally different. I mean, I could have maybe the latest model of the HHR, or maybe these were for like a later model, or maybe this was for like a. I think this was a later model. This had to be like a second generation, because I've never seen the first generations have this type of throttle body. Hope this video helps, and feel free to leave comments. If you want to buy this throttle body in any time, let me know. I'm not in a hurry to sell it, but if you're interested in it for any of your vehicles, you can hit me up in the comments. It will be on eBay for sale in an auction. And y'all have a great one.